Welcome back to our channel, where we update the most shocking episodes. Please continue to follow and subscribe to our channel. Hayley has always been the woman everyone in town trusts. With her gentle eyes, calm smile and calm demeanor, she makes people feel safe. But behind that seemingly perfect exterior, a storm is quietly brewing, a dark secret that she is determined to bury deep inside, even at the cost of her morality and humanity. A month ago, Hayley received the results of a medical test she had secretly undergone after her increasingly frequent dizziness. The doctor advised her to go to a specialist center for further testing. But Hayley didn't need any more proof. Deep down, she knew something was wrong. And then the name of the condition appeared clearly in the medical records: a rare, early stage but rapidly progressing, incurable neurodegenerative disease. She didn't cry, nor did she panic. Instead, a cold silence filled her mind. The life she had once controlled, once planned perfectly, was now like a fragile glass house slowly starting to crack. And what scared her more than death was pity. Hayley couldn't bear the pitying looks from those around her, much less be put in the position of a weakling. She knew that Bill, her closest colleague in the town museum, had been suspicious. Bill was a keen observer, always noticing the smallest changes. During their work trips together, he had asked Hayley several times about her forgetting appointments, dropping things, or sitting blankly in important meetings. And in a moment of carelessness that she would never forgive herself for, Hayley had left the test results on her desk, not having time to hide them when Bill walked in. From then on, everything changed. She felt the secret scrutiny from Bill's eyes, the feeling that she was prey being hunted, being cornered step by step. And then, Hayley knew, if Bill spoke, if everyone knew the truth, her entire world would collapse. No more work, no more control, no more freedom. Just pity, isolation, and a half-baked existence. She couldn't let that happen. The plan was meticulously laid out, cold and calculating. Hayley began researching subtle poisons, compounds that could cause nerve damage or produce vague symptoms like a mini-stroke or heart attack, but would quickly dissipate in the bloodstream, leaving no trace. She searched medical forums and forgotten research papers, and from them she created a colorless, odorless, easily soluble solution extracted from a rare but highly poisonous mushroom native to Eastern Europe. Bill had a habit of drinking coffee every morning in his office. Hayley volunteered to make the coffee, as she always did. Everything went as usual, so normal that it made her shudder at the cruelty hidden behind the familiar facade. She poured a few drops of the poison into a cup, stirred it, smiled as she placed it on Bill's desk, and said she was going out to get the paperwork. 30 minutes later, a mild convulsion began. And Bill fell out of his chair, hitting his head on the edge of the desk. He was rushed to the hospital, waking up 2 days later with temporary disorientation and a hazy memory. The doctors couldn't find a specific cause, assuming it was a transient ischemic attack. Hayley had succeeded. But there was something more sinister hidden in that victory. Bill began to suspect everything, not about why he had fallen ill, but about Hayley. He vaguely remembered the strange look in her eyes that morning, remembered that something was wrong with her. He began digging deeper into the hospital's medical records, trying to access the hospital's internal filing system, where everything was digitized and sometimes even kept medical records. Meanwhile, Hayley tried to appear normal, but inside, she was falling apart. The disease progressed. She began to hear sounds that weren't there, felt like someone was watching her, and sometimes forgot important things. The fears in her mind turned into obsessions. Not only did she worry that Bill would find out the truth, but she also worried that she would no longer be sober enough to control the situation. And worse, she began to wonder if she had actually poisoned Bill or if she had just imagined it. Hayley did not dare to go for a checkup, nor did she dare to tell anyone. She became a prisoner in her own mind, living in a spiral of doubt and guilt. But outside, she still walked lightly through the museum corridors, still smiled at visitors, still played the role of the perfect woman. Until one evening, she found her office door unlocked. On the desk was a large envelope, containing a copy of her test results, the one she believed she had destroyed. A small note was attached, with only the words, "We need to talk." If not, I'll tell you first. Hayley knew who had sent it. She had no choice. Once again, she had to decide, and this time, the choice would be not just a drop of poison in her coffee, but everything left of her conscience. Silence was no longer an option. She had to face herself or continue to sink deeper into the darkness. From that moment, a game more dangerous than the disease began. A battle of wits between the secret keeper and the truth seeker. But what Hayley doesn't know is that Bill is also keeping a secret of his own, a secret that, if revealed, could turn everything upside down. And make Hayley realize that she's not the only one lying in this story. After receiving the envelope containing the evidence, Hayley can't sleep for several nights. Every little noise in the middle of the night makes her heart pound. She begins to imagine the worst-case scenarios. Bill gives the entire file to the hospital's administration. Hayley is investigated, loses her job, is sent to a rehabilitation center or a special care home, where she will live out her final days at the mercy of the nurses and forgotten by society. But what scares her most is that her sanity is slowly leaving her. The brief bouts of amnesia are becoming more frequent. One day, she goes to work at the hospital forgetting that she locked the door, leaving the gas stove on for hours. One time, she sat in the middle of the archives, staring at an ancient record for almost an hour, not remembering how she got there. Hayley was no longer herself, and she knew it. She decided to see Bill, but not to admit it or ask for forgiveness. She needed to take control of the situation one more time if she could. She chose a rainy afternoon, pretending to stumble upon his office. But when she entered, she found everything in the room had changed. The notebooks that usually sat neatly on the shelves were now in disarray. The computer was password protected. And most notably, there was a small portrait of a young woman hanging next to the desk, a face unfamiliar, but with eyes very much like hers. Hayley sensed something was wrong. She began to wonder, what was Bill hiding? In the days that followed, she watched Bill like a shadow. She recorded his every move, from his lunch break at the small cafe near the square, to his time at the institute past office hours. Once, she saw Bill, carrying a red folder, leave the institute at night and head straight for an old building in a rundown neighborhood, where the dim lights couldn't hide the gloomy, musty feeling of decay. Hayley waited for him to leave, then snuck into the building. In a room on the third floor, she discovered a small space that had been turned into a secret work area, ancient documents stolen from the museum, copies of rare records, even small artifacts that had disappeared months ago, now reappeared here, carefully framed and numbered. Bill wasn't just a secret keeper, he was a traitor. He had stolen artifacts, using the name of research for personal gain. Hayley laughed quietly, a hollow laugh. It turned out Bill had something to hide, too. And in that moment, the idea of revenge burned inside her like a small flame smoldering in the darkness. She turned around, and came up with a new plan, a plan no longer to hide her illness, but to wipe Bill out of the game once and for all. Hayley began sending anonymous hints to the institute, copies of missing drawings, photographs of artifacts in Bill's secret place. But she didn't send them all at once. She dropped each clue. And the board began to suspect something. An internal investigation was launched. Bill was called in for questioning. And all the while, Hayley watched quietly, like a stagehand from behind the scenes. But her illness wasn't standing still. It began to demand its dues. Hayley began sleepwalking. One time she woke up to find herself standing on a fourth-floor balcony, clutching the railing, staring down at the empty space below. Another time, she found herself holding a sharp object, standing in front of a mirror, not knowing where she got it. Memories were fragmented like broken pieces of glass, unable to be put back together. And then, one morning, Hayley received a handwritten letter, with no sender's name. It simply said, "I know what you're playing at. Don't underestimate me." The handwriting was Bill's. Hayley doesn't know how he found out. She begins to live in extreme tension. The phone rings, startling her. The knock on the door makes her heart clench. She feels like she's being hunted. But at the same time she can't stop. She has to go all the way. She plans one last time, the last. Hayley learns that Bill is allergic to a rare mushroom that caused a severe reaction in him on a previous archaeological expedition. She finds a sample of the mushroom at a secret herbal shop, grinds it into a powder, and mixes it into an envelope with a fake document. She signs it to the institute manager and sends it to Bill's house. But the plan fails. Bill doesn't open the letter. Instead, he hands the envelope straight to the police, suspecting he's being threatened. The powder is found, analyzed, and clues begin to point to Hayley. Forgotten security cameras, a rare missed order, and finally, a trace of access to the museum's intranet from her personal computer. The investigation takes a turn. Hayley is being followed. Meanwhile, Bill, who is no innocent himself, begins to gain the upper hand. Hayley feels everything falling apart. But it's not the police or justice that's making her fall apart. It's herself. She looks in the mirror every morning and no longer recognizes the woman in it. Her face is pale, her eyes lost, her memories hazy. She begins to wonder, did she really poison Bill? Did she really send that last letter? Or was it all just the figment of a disintegrating mind? As the pieces of present, past, and hallucinations blend together, Hayley realizes that her cruelest punishment comes not from the outside world but from within.